you can own a piece of history. A flag embraced by the President of the United States. The Franklin Mint has made available over 100 flags, each personally nuzzled by Donald J. Trump. Old Glory never had it so good. Your fully fondled...
Yes, these storms would be here no matter what. They're part of nature. But with human-caused and amplified climate change, we have upped the ante and given them extra fuel.
Climate change doesn't necessarily mean more hurricanes. It means the ones that we do get are bigger or wetter or have stronger winds.
3 cheers for the red, white, and you. Gaze proudly upon the orange stain left by the president's well. Get your MAGA flagga for only 3 easy installments of your Social Security check. Call now and receive a square of toilet paper from the back of the president's shoe. Absolutely free.
Not available in stores. Made in China. No habla español.
It's time for everybody's favorite new game show, Hypocrite of the Week. The 5 is back and Fox News is better than ever. Oh my goodness, their ability to cut clips together and then somehow make up a story about Joe Biden is second to none. The hypocrisy knows no bounds in this group. Let's get started.
President Biden making the same tone-deaf mistakes after Hurricane Idalia as he did just weeks ago over the Maui wildfires, the monster storm carving a path of destruction across Florida, Georgia, and the Carolinas.
To assist me as always, I have a lovely Fox News Talking Points Bimbo. She'll set it up for the crowd and try to make something out of nothing.
But Biden just couldn't resist injecting his climate change agenda and pretending that his bizarre kitchen fire story is relatable.
Still some deniers out there in terms of whether or not climate change has anything to do with any of this. And we're going to need a whole hell of a lot more money.
Now, obviously, he's talking to FEMA here. FEMA employees. He's talking about climate change disasters there, bitch. I think you know that.
Disengaged this often. But this last couple of years with climate change and really kicking in, you guys are going 24 hours a day. Lightning struck my house. We had to be out of that house for about 7 months. I was repaired because so much damage was done to the house and half the house almost collapsed.
And then they tie that into a White House clip in a different location at a different time where Joe Biden told a story. Let's watch.
Right on cue, Biden's echo chamber in the media was ready to blame global warming for Hurricane Idalia.
You know, they love talking about how the liberal media is trying to change the narrative and how the liberal media wants to blame this on climate change when everybody knows that this is just God giving us a warm hug.
Ready to blame global warming for Hurricane Idalia.
Florida's Republican leaders are actually trying to make it worse, actively.
Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, seen here boasting the highest number he can count to,
is refusing to accept $350 million in energy efficiency incentives that Florida is eligible for under the Inflation Reduction Act.
Biden is pledging that the federal government will do all it can to help and will be visiting Florida on Saturday morning.
But the CNNs of the world, you guys need to start reporting this and stop fact-checking it.
And of course, Fox News is all in for Ron DeSantis now. They've turned their back on Trump as they had to save their own party because the Republicans are in a nosedive and Fox News seems to be the only ones that know it. So they've thrown their entire weight behind Ron DeSantis and go out of their way to point out how Joe Biden is not providing what Florida needs. And evidence of that, of course, is the $350 million that Joe Biden offered to Florida. Well, you see, Ron DeSantis doesn't want that money because it's woke. And he doesn't take any woke money to Florida because, by God, Florida's where woke goes to die.
Where was that urgency for Hawaii when he was sitting on the beach in Delaware?
While the place burnt to the ground, I'll bet he was cackling along with Hillary. Hey, Fox News, the unbridled passion of their hypocrisy cannot be matched, and that's why we're here today. It's time to play Hypocrite of the Week. Today's contestants, we've got...
The new crop are such a bunch of foaming at the mouth Kraken releasers that Clarence Thomas wants to marry them.
Jesse Waters. Taurus, whoever the fuck. Janine Pirro. And joining us from across the pond, it's Piers please go back to England, Morgan. How you doing, Piers?
Because I don't mind anything else.
First up, we've got Jesse, bridge over troubled waters.
So, Jesse, you're the money guy. You follow the money. And I heard Joe Biden say he wants a lot more of it.
Yeah, a lot more.
Not money for climate change, money for the disasters that come from it. Jesse Waters knows this, or he's a complete douchebag. Perhaps he's both. Let's see how he does. Because that's worth 5 points.
So it is a pyramid scheme, climate change. If you think about it, you have the media, the politicians, and the academics at the top, and then at the bottom you have all of us, the taxpayers. So academics realized early on that the more papers that they put out saying that climate change was caused by humans and the world was going to blow up in 2 years if we don't do something about it, they were going to get more grant money from the politicians.
Coming from a man who's a wholly owned subsidiary of the Republican Party, calling climate change a pyramid scheme? Holy crap. That's worth 10 points.
And so the media takes these research papers and then they report them and then they get big ratings because everybody gets scared and everybody gets nervous. And then the politicians scare the heck out of you and said, get rid of big oil, we need to go green. And then they throw all of our money around at all of their donors and all their investors. So they're all making all this money by telling us something that's not happening.
That's right, Jesse, that's right. The academics have all gotten together to make a boatload of money here. Oh, wait, they're gonna need a boat because the oceans are rising. It's gonna be worth 10 points, as, you know, his hypocrisy certainly is beginning to swell there.
By telling us something that's not happening. We had this big climate change whistleblower on last night who said she's been ostracized because she reported that maybe the Earth is warming a little bit, but the human impact is really not much. And the fact that it's warming, we got this. It's not Armageddon. And she has been smeared as a denier, and all of her grants dried up. And no one wants to talk to her in the scientific community anymore because that's when the money stops, if you start telling the truth.
Absolutely, Jesse Waters. That's worth another 25 points because you're a shill for the oil companies. Come on, man. Hey, that's how we play the game. It's called Hypocrite of the Week, not Douchebag of the Week. Otherwise, Jesse Waters would win every time. All right, Taurus, it's all to play for. Let's see what you can do. Jesse Waters has laid down the gauntlet for a complete douchebaggery of hypocrisy.
Things like they didn't let the water out because they wanted to focus on water equity. Isn't it really a cop-out because they're just placing the blame on climate change instead of on maybe government human error, which they could prevent in the future?
The magic word you said right there was equity.
Straight into equity. Outstanding. That is red meat to the base hypocrisy right there. That's worth 10 points.
This administration is an administration of equity, which means you pick people for the way they looked and not on a resume.
Taurus wants people to look at a man's resume before they look at his face. Well, coming from Taurus, I'm sure he does. So, better look at that resume because Taurus hasn't got anything else to look at. I'm sorry, that's not worth points. That's just stupid.
Yeah, Montana used to be under a glacier.
Yeah.
Right? And it was when it was colder and it was wetter. And then the earth changed and it got hot and the ice melted away. And now we have these wonderful lakes and rivers. See, the thing about Mother Nature is she never goes, oh, don't change this because there's people there. That's our ignorant arrogance. And they can't do anything about climate change. Earth is moving and changing, and it gives zero blanks about what people are doing or saying. If you build a dam and build a city, eventually, Mother Nature, something's going to happen, and that dam's going to break because Mother Nature doesn't have time for this. But
whoa, the Earth is moving, and Mother Nature doesn't care what man does. Man can't stop it. Mother Nature's going to do her thing. Absolutely outstanding. Like mixed up street lingo with pseudo creationist science? I love it, man. That's some hypocrisy bullshit. That's worth 25 big ones. Man, you're moving right along. Let's go.
They know they can't do anything about it, but why not make money, take away the old money, and help the transition of wealth in this country by saying, you know, because according to them, there's no more polar bears left, but their numbers are up exponentially. So, you know, But again, all this is irrelevant because according to AOC, we've got 1 year, 6 months, and like 12 days left. So.
Oh, he got a bunch of extra polar bears that no one seems to know about. Outstanding. Hypocrisy knows no bounds with this one, much like his mutton chops, or whatever the hell those things are. An outstanding job. But I'm sorry to say that was only worth 15 more points, bringing you to a total of 50. You and Jesse are now tied. Ooh, do I have a cliffhanger coming? Gonna be a shoot at the end? Wait and see. Let's find out who's gonna be with Hypocrisy.
With respect to what's going on now, it would have been so easy for me to stop this travesty from happening. He understood me, and he understood that I didn't play games. This would not have happened. Someday I'll tell you exactly what we talked about.
It's How I Met Your Dictator, coming this fall on the Maga Cult Network.
But we talked about it, and he did have an affinity, there's no question about it, for Ukraine. I said, never let it happen. You better not let it happen.
It's How I Met Your Dictator, Wednesdays at 7, coming this fall on the Maga Cult Network. All right, Janine Pirro, the little boys, and I do mean little, have really done well to set you up. They've each got 50 points, and it's going to be hard to beat them, but now is your chance to shine. Judge Janine Pirro, let's see what you got.
Judge, I find it so interesting to watch the preparation by Governor Ron DeSantis and the need to have linemen available with trucks with diesel fuel.
Oh, darling, what did you have to do to get this job? Wait, don't tell me. I really don't want to know, because I'll bet it's disgusting. Much like Marjorie Taylor Greene's porn. Check it out.
Men available with trucks with diesel fuel and generators with natural gas to prepare for a hurricane, which is completely the opposite of what the climate agenda calls for.
I love my Talking Points Bimbo. Hi, Janine. You're up.
Right, it's the opposite of what we saw in Maui. I mean, you know, they were not releasing the water. In fact, they didn't have a plan to shut down the power lines when there was brush on the ground.
Like they tried to do in California, we're going to blame it on the electric company. Hey, don't get me wrong, electric companies are scum-sucking pieces of crap. That doesn't address anything we're talking about here. I'm sorry, no points. That's just ridiculous.
But what's so fascinating about this is one of the first hurricanes reported was, I think it was in the 1400s. Now, I would venture a guess that had nothing to do with fossil fuels. Okay, but they're certainly convinced that we've got something to do with all of it.
Whoa! First recorded hurricane in the 1400s. Janine comes back with some hypocritical bullshit. Absolutely outstanding, Janine Pirro. That is how you play this game. Make up a total ridiculous thing that is a true fact, therefore it somehow seems that the rest of your bullshit sentence has validity. Outstanding work, Janine. That's worth 25 points.
And then the other issue is, you know, wildfire season. Oh, it's terrible. It's because it's man-made. The wildfire, it's because of climate change. But I mean to say it's man-made. It's really about arson. It's about poor forest management.
They called it a forest nation. And they spend a lot of time on raking and cleaning and doing things, and they don't have any problem. And when it is, it's a very small problem. So I know everybody's looking at that.
Oh my God, here we go again with forest management. You gotta rake those forests, ladies and gentlemen. Coming from a woman who's clearly never been in a forest. There's millions of square miles, absolutely millions of square miles to so-called manage. There are going to be fires, especially if it gets, wait for it, too fucking hot. Janine Pirro, what do you say to that?
It's about making sure or not making sure that the brush that's on the ground, it ends up meeting a power line. I mean, all of this stuff can be handled.
I will tell you, you got 10 points.
If we at least recognize, as Ron DeSantis is recognizing, that you can prepare for it, you can plan ahead, and you can be ahead of the game.
Janine Pirro wants us to stay ahead of the game, much like trying to address the future of climate change. But of course, that's not what she's talking about, because she's a freaking hypocrite. That's another 10 points, Janine. You're doing well.
moderate, you can plan ahead, and you can be ahead of the game. But all of these claims that hurricanes and wildfires are the result of climate change and the hot weather happens in the summer. I mean, that's just the way it is.
Oh my God, she's such a bimbo. What a freaking moron. But for Fox News viewers, that's exactly the kind of red meat they're looking for. Hot weather is gonna happen in the summer. Absolutely outstanding, Janine. That is going to put you over the top with 25 more points, bring you to a total of 60. You're doing absolutely outstanding. And douchebags over here, you guys could just go away. I'm sure that's what your wives say every day. But wait, we've got more. We've got a contender once again. Our neighbors from across the pond, our special relationship with our lovely...
Not in England.
Very, very quiet.
We're still in the Ice Age in our summer.
That last bitch blew everybody out of the water. Those boys didn't see what was coming. They have no idea the hypocrisy that woman's capable of. It's quite impressive. Piers Morgan, I know that you're going to come out swinging.
So, Piers, there is a big difference between pollution and not wanting pollution and stopping pollution and the climate change agenda. And for Joe Biden to bring it up in these situations, it's a political agenda. So he's really just bringing up politics.
Well, it is, and I was really struck, actually, by the difference between his response, both in Maui and then again to the hurricane in Florida, and that of Ron DeSantis, who's running for president, because he might end up potentially being in the White House. On the one hand, you have a guy who's currently got the job, didn't want to comment originally about Maui, which I found extraordinarily tone deaf.
Well, that's obviously a lie. He made a statement before the American people. We all saw it. But of course, this is Fox News. That's how they roll. Way to go, Piers. To somehow tie that into a tone deafness of Joe Biden's because of the other clip that Piers also knows. Joe's talking about how difficult it is when your house is unlivable for 7 months. My God, that son of a bitch doesn't know what he's talking about. And how dare he try to relate that somehow to the work that FEMA does. But that's worth 25 points. Way to go, Piers. Hey, you're off and running.
About one of the worst natural disasters in modern American history. He didn't want to leave his holiday and go down there, when, of course, any normal person with that scale of disaster would have got straight on a plane just for the optics, never mind anything else. And now he wants to make it all about himself and this weird fire that went on in his house, which seems to get progressively worse. By contrast, DeSantis, I've been really impressed.
After being fired from CNN and multiple other stations and all the stations in England and all the newspapers in England, he's now gone to Fox News. So, of course, he's quite impressed with that Ron DeSantis.
I think he's just basically said, forget politics, put all that to one side, but also it's why he's so popular as a governor.
No one stands up to the deep state like him, except for maybe Piers Morgan.
And why he's been so successful. He gets stuff done.
As we know, Ron DeSantis gets things done. Like making sure that no one knows what happened to black people in Florida during the 1800s. He also gets things done and making sure that a woman who's going to die of sepsis because her baby's already dead inside her can't do a damn thing about it and has to go ahead and die of sepsis because, by God, that's what God intended. Ron DeSantis getting things done. Way to go, Piers. That's going to be worth another 15 points.
He got up at 4 o'clock in the morning and he kept pounding that beat. He was on television all day. Now, part of it might be self-interest. It's obviously good optics for him running for president.
How ridiculous. Florida didn't do any work. It was FEMA. The whole point. The money, the actions, the truckloads of water, the shelters, and all of the workers came from FEMA. You know, that organization that Joe Biden's just funneling money to. That's worth another 10 points.
He didn't play politics. He welcomed the president calling him. He talked about that. But nowhere did I hear him blame anything. And what's happened down in Florida is really interesting. 3 people dead so far. Way, way fewer people have died than they were anticipating. Maybe because the preparation that went on by Governor DeSantis and his team was exemplary. And there's a lesson for Joe Biden. Stop playing the politics. Do your job.
Holy shit. Stop being political and just do your job, Joe Biden. That is some hypocritical bullshit. After listening to this segment, this motherfucker has the unmitigated guile to suggest that it's Joe Biden who's being political with the money that he sent to Florida. Ha ha! That's absolutely outstanding, Piers Morgan, and that's why you're our champion. That's going to be worth another 20 points, bringing you to 80. Sorry, Janine Pirro, but your hypocrisy just wasn't quite as high as your IQ. So 80 was easy to beat you. Sorry, Janine Pirro. Maybe better luck next time. Right now, we're looking at Piers Morgan because nobody does it better. I tell you what a great day for hypocrisy in America. Fox News does it like no other. They would get the award if they were a person. Because Rupert obviously is an alien. What have you got to say, Piers?
Stop playing the politics.
Oh, what a complete nut job piece of crap. Well, at least he's got a job on Fox because they'll hire anybody. Isn't that right? Talking Points Bimbo.
All right, there'll be plenty of time for the politics on the campaign trail.
Ho, ho, she's a nutter. That's perfect. And that's why this is every family's favorite new game show all across America they're watching. Hypocrite of the Week. I'm your host, Zachariah Lone Star Liberal. Join us next time for more unbridled hypocrisy.